Hey everybody, good evening. Happy Saturday. Come on in and have a seat because we are going to go over a review that I have been waiting to review for a very long time, a show that I've been waiting for a very long time. I had heard it was in the works a while ago and is finally out there on Netflix. So I'm gonna need y'all to find a way to watch this show. If y'all have Netflix, the name of the show is called When They See Us. And the name of the show is When They See Us, but it's evolves around the story, the real life story of five guys from the Central Park Five. Hey, yes, I saw that, Miss Hawk. I saw that. I saw that on the news. They found body parts in where was it? Arkansas? Yep, Arkansas. Mm-mm-mm. Yep. I'm gonna do a review on that too. Probably tomorrow. After I dig and get some more information. I'm gonna wait till tonight. Wait till tomorrow morning. See what else comes about, and then we will talk about Malia again. That poor baby. But hey, Kevin Denson. Hi, how you doing? Yep, Hope, Arkansas. Yep, I saw that on the news earlier today. Matter of fact, I saw that on the news right after I had finished watching this show. And I was like, oh dang, I done already got prepared to do the live for this show. So I'm like, okay, we'll do that tomorrow. We'll discuss Malia again tomorrow. Hey Heather, how you doing? Kevin said he just watched the first episode and it screams exactly what is going on now, but the police are using guns on our brothers. Yes, sir, Kevin. You know what, Kevin? I'm already up to the middle of part 3. But, I jumped ahead only because, I was just sitting around. I was just watching it. But I'm going to do a review on each part separately because it's a lot to cover in each part separately. And if you guys watch it, it's on Netflix. It's called When They See Us. And basically, it's on Netflix. You got to check it out. It just came out today. May 31st. It just came out today on Netflix. So you have to watch it because I'm going to be doing part 2 tomorrow. Probably in the afternoonish. And then I'm going to do part 3. Probably tomorrow evening. And then I'm going to do part 4. Most likely Sunday evening. So I'm going to try to get all of them out over the weekend. So y'all please binge watch. But I'm going to review each part separately because there's a lot to cover in each part. But so if y'all haven't seen it, check it out. It's on Netflix. Again, the name of the show on Netflix is called When They See Us. And it's a true story of the Central Park Five. So just to give y'all a little bit of background information, a lot of y'all probably remember because I remember this. And as I was telling my sons earlier, I told them, promise your mother that you will watch this show, all 4 episodes. Promise your mother that, and they was like, okay, ma, we'll watch it this weekend. I'm like, no, for real. If y'all have some young children, especially young black teenage boys, young black men, y'all need to have them watch this show. Either watch it with them, watch it without them, but they need to watch this show. They really do. Really need to watch this show. Heather, you said you remember. I remember it too. But the thing about it was, I was still in school, in high school, and I'm like, how you hear about stuff? But you at a time in your life where you really don't pay a whole lot of attention to every crime story. You know what I mean? And when you get older, you look back like, dang, that was messed up. I can't believe that really happened, But yeah, this was one of those cases that you have to check out. It happened, the story is based on an assault and rape case of a lady named Trisha Mighty, Meidi, it's either Mighty or I think it's Mighty, who was an investment banker back at that time. She was attacked, assaulted, and brutally raped in Central Park in New York. It happened on April 19th, 1989. It was back then, it was a major news story. Again, it involved the assault and rape of Patricia Miley, a white female jogger. There were attacks that night in the North Woods of Manhattan Central Park on the night of April 1989. The attack on her, out of all the attacks that happened that night, the attack on her left her in a coma for 12 days. Miley was a 20-year-old investment banker at the time. And from what they say, this was like one of the most widely publicized crimes, during the 80s. During the 80s, right before it hit the 90s. On the night of the attack, 5 juvenile black males, basically 4 black African American males. One of them was a Hispanic. They were apprehended in connection with a number of attacks in Central Park. Hey, the life of Sierra. Hey, Cece. Hey, boo. And it was in connection with a number of attacks in Central Park committed by around 30 teenagers. So it wasn't just, it's called the Central Park 5, but these 5 individuals was selected out of all the kids that was, running around, playing around, whatever they was doing in the park. These 5 individuals, 4 blacks, one Hispanic, was selected, out of all the perpetrators. Now, there's a lady in the story called Linda Fairstein. And Linda Fairstein, by the way, now most of y'all been keeping track of that story about the parents who basically paid their children's way into college. Y'all might recognize the actress who played Linda in this story. Y'all know Felicity? Felicity. She's one of the mothers who had actually paid they, all those parents who were just tried. Some of them was convicted. Some of them pleaded guilty. Some of them pleaded innocent. All those parents who just were in the news recently about getting their children into school, into colleges. They were paying professors to take tests for them. They were paying people to change the scores on some of their children's test scores. Anyway, yeah, her. That's who is playing the lady who's in charge of the head of sex crimes in this show. So if you see the show, you might be like, dang, that lady, she really looks familiar. She really looks familiar. Hey, Miss New Orleans. How you doing? We've been helping each other lately, y'all. Some of us in here been helping each other out lately with watch hours. So, y'all need to get with us now. Because we've been helping each other out and supporting each other out on our watch hours. So y'all make sure, y'all, if y'all need watch hours, make sure y'all let me know. Put it in the chat. I mean, not put it in the chat, but put it in the comment section after the video is over. Put it in the comment section, not in the chat, but in the comment section, because that's where I can quickly, find out, who all needs, watch hours. But anyway, her name is Felicity Huffman, and she's one of those parents. Now, of course, when they was doing this movie, she wasn't in hot water then. So this is all before, the lawsuits and all that stuff against them. So, but yes, my watch hours is going up. Yay! I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I got less than 2 weeks, y'all, to get my first review. To get monetized. So y'all keep on helping me with watch hours, and I'll keep on returning the love. But yeah, so Felicity, she's one of the main characters in the TV show, and her name in the show again is Linda. Linda. She's like head of sex crimes. So she oversaw the prosecution, of the 5 juveniles, known as the Central Park Five. That's what they were known as. And the Central Park Jogger was the name of the case. So the case was called the Central Park Jogger. The juvenile defendants were called the Central Park Five. And the case was in 1990. The incident happened in 1989. The case happened in 1990. Now, Linda Fairstein is said she orchestrated and coerced the confession of 5 black and brown. That's what they called it in the on the internet. But I'm gonna say 4 black kids, 1 Hispanic, to self-incriminate themselves for the rape and murder of the jogger. Now, the case was prosecuted by DA Elizabeth Lederer and Arthur Clemens. So those are like the top people, in the case besides the defendants, besides, the 5 guys. This show, I swear, I was like, I couldn't believe this is like probably the worst case situation scenario of cops and the DA and the prosecutor and the detectives, and I mean the whole department, the whole precinct, everybody was trying to bring these kids, basically just hang them at the cross, nail them at the cross, burn them at the stake, just because they needed somebody. They had to pin it on somebody. So I'm gonna run y'all through a little bit of what I found out on this show, and some of y'all have watched it, so y'all make sure y'all chime in. If y'all want to call in, let me know, and I can turn the phone lines on as well if y'all want to call in and talk about the show. But you said it's been running. Thank you. I haven't checked my hours today. It's been a long day. But I haven't checked my hours today, but I'm gonna check them tonight before I go to bed. But at the beginning of the show, for y'all who might have saw it, now the boys, there's Antron, there's Kevin, there's Yusef, there's Raymond, and then there's Corey. 5 boys. 4 is black, and Raymond is the one that is Hispanic. So at the beginning of the show, you said you can't wait to see it. Ooh, girl, trust me, it's good. It's good. It's good. One thing about these boys, from what I learned so far from the witnesses and detectives and their families and stuff, from watching part 1, is that these were like normal, regular, everyday kids. They might have had, their hand in the pot of a little, mischief, like a lot of teenage boys, but nothing like what they said they did. Nothing at all. At the beginning of the show, they show Antron. They called him Tronny or Tron, and he's sitting around with his dad, Bobby McCrae. Now, Bobby McCrae, y'all might know him. His real name is Michael Williams. Michael Williams. Now, if y'all are fans of The Wire, and he played in a lot of other shows and movies too, but The Wire is one of the big shows that he played in on TV. And it's the dark-skinned black man with the line that runs right down his face and comes like right here by his eye and goes down the rest of his face. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Michael. He was the one who played the gay thug in The Wire. So that's who's playing Tronny's father. So they was sitting around, having a good time, eating and just chilling, talking about the Yankees, shooting the breeze, talking about, who's being traded, who's being replaced, things like that. Just normal conversation, father-son time, just normal. That's what you see in this first season. I mean, not season, but first episode. You just see like normal situations with these families and their kids, and you can just tell by looking at them that these weren't no bad kids. Kevin, he was the youngest. He's a 14-year-old kid. At the beginning of the show, they show him, walking with his older sister. He has a beautiful older sister named Angie. And he also plays the trombone. He plays, instruments in school. And she was complimenting him on, how well he's been doing and, appreciating his musical talents. And he's telling her, how he want to step up. He want to, have a bigger role, take the lead sometimes, in his band. So he's working towards that. So she tells him, you know what? It's spring break. Don't take it for, take advantage of the spring break. Do what you want to do. Spring break. It's only 1 week. And so that's what she's telling him before he, walks off and goes and hooks up with his friends. Then we have Corey Wise. Now, Corey Wise, I knew something was kind of off with him from the beginning. Just by his demeanor, the way he talked, the way he acted, you could just tell something wasn't quite all there with Corey, but we'll get into that later. But, in the beginning of the show, they show him, he's caking it up with his girlfriend, chopping it up with his girlfriend. She's up there tripping because she never hardly sees him, and they're at school. Corey, we find out very early on that he was the type of student who he might not have been involved in a whole lot of bad things, but he used to skip school a lot. And we find out why later. So we'll get into that later. But anywho, she's giving him grief because they don't hardly hook up. And he, I guess, goes a lot without food. They didn't get too much into his home life situation. But she's like, why are you always hungry? Why are you always hungry? You always want to go get something to eat. And if you came to school like you're supposed to come to school, then you could have breakfast. You could have lunch. All this before you go home and have dinner. So she's giving him grief about that. So we learn early on that Corey is not a big fan of school. And he frequently skips school. Raymond again, he's the Hispanic one, Raymond Santana. And his dad is played by John Leguizamo. That's a hard one, but he's also he's a comedian and he's a famous actor as well. Ray, at the beginning of the show, they just showing him kicking it with his homeboys. He's walking around. They walking through the neighborhoods, just shooting the breeze, talking about, hooking up with some girls. And just like, I don't know how many of y'all or how old most of y'all are, but I grew up through the 90s. So a lot of these scenes were like, I'm just thinking back like, dang, flashbacks. It's like the hairstyles, the way the guys have the high top, like the Kid and Play, the high tops and the style of dress, how they talking to the girls and, trying to flex on the girls, how they used to say back in the day. So they just, normal, everyday guys. Then, I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Hey, Donna, just being real. Happy Friday. How you doing, hon? Come on in so you can join us while we're discussing this new TV show. New Netflix show, I should say, that's on about the Central Park 5. So, the next boy we're going to talk about is Yusuf. Now, Yusuf, at the beginning of the show, they show him, kicking it around with his friends. All the boys was just like, they was getting ready for spring break. Everybody's discussing what we gonna do, where we gonna be, parties, all this kind of stuff. They chilling, balling, playing basketball, stuff like that. And this is like a day, probably the day that they would probably remember for the rest of their entire life, because this is the day that started off everything, and it was just a normal everyday, just normal. But anyway, Yusuf, he's hanging around with his, I think it was his best friend. I think they said they were best friends. And that was Corey, the one who I just said, I noticed something right up front was a little off with him. But he's kicking it with him, and they discussing, let's hanging out with, going to the park. Because while Corey had went to go eat with his girlfriend, his friend Yusuf, he was like looking around. He noticed it was a big crowd, like a rush of kids, a whole bunch of kids, a whole bunch of teenagers just taking off and running through the neighborhood. And everybody was like, where is they going? And everybody like, they going to kick it in Central Park. We going to kick it in Central Park. So Yusuf, he goes to get Corey. Corey is at the restaurant with his girlfriend. He goes to get him and tells him, hey man, let's go. Everybody going to Central Park. His girlfriend is up there tripping. Don't go, don't go. We ain't seen each other in forever. You know, don't go. Please don't go. And he's telling her, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I swear, I'll be back in 5 minutes. As y'all, I'm sure most of y'all can guess who didn't watch the show or know the story. He, of course, did not come back in 5 minutes. So after agreeing, basically, they went to, the park. Everybody went to the park. Kevin. Okay, Kevin. That's the little boy who played the trombone. After his sister left him, after they split up, he's walking with his friend. And they noticing, where's everybody going? All these people going, towards Central Park. His homeboy like, no, we ain't going. We going to play ball. So there's like 2 situations that could have been avoided from them boys getting caught up in that madness. But Kevin was like, I want to see what's going on. So they show him rushing home to his mom. He drops off his trombone, grabs his jacket, runs back to the house. His friend, who tried to persuade him not to go to the park, he went on to play hoops. So that is the 5 boys. Kevin, and how do you say his name? Antron. They call him Tronny. Antron. Yusuf. Then we have Raymond. And then we have, did I name them all? Kevin, Yusuf, Antron, Raymond, Corey. That's right, Corey. So those are the 5 boys. You said, wow, on Netflix? Yes, it's on Netflix. It's just started today. It's a 4-part. It's 4 parts. So we're reviewing part 1. I'm already up to part 3. But once I realized how much was going on in each part, I was like, okay, I'm going to break this review up into 4 parts. But yes, a lot of people has been waiting on this show to come out, and it's finally out. So I hurried up and jumped on that and started watching that this morning. Now, those are the 5 boys. And basically, what I can tell from the very beginning, the boys, they just want to have some fun. It was spring break. They see a whole bunch of kids, a whole bunch of other teenagers, looking like they off to, hang and kick it and, just not necessarily get into some BS. But they're just like, okay, it's spring break, let's go. Let's follow the crowd. Let's see what's going on. They ended up in the park. Yusuf was with his cousin Corey. Kevin was by himself. Antron, he was by himself. And Raymond, he was with his homeboys. Now, once they were in the park, it was like a lot of situations going on. It was a whole bunch of teenagers, a whole bunch of kids. Some of them kids or teenagers that were at the park someone was harassing bicyclists, people riding their bikes around, they yelling and screaming at them, jumping in front of their bike, just acting silly. Some other people, they attacked somebody. They attacked a school teacher. Some other people attacked a 50-year-old man, and a lady ended up being attacked, assaulted, and brutally raped that night. All this was going on, but these kids had no idea. They had no idea. Like, they didn't know nobody got raped. They didn't know a 50-year-old man got attacked. They didn't know a school teacher got attacked. They didn't know any of that. They just out in the park, running around, hanging around, playing tag, just being boys. Next thing you know, police pull up. They hear sirens. They hear sirens. And of course, it's a whole bunch of black kids They hear sirens coming from all over the place. Like the park is surrounded by police. They all immediately, took off running. You found it? Okay, make sure you watch it because I'm reviewing part 1 tonight. Part 2 tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to review. And then part 3 tomorrow evening, I'm going to review. And then part 4 Sunday evening, I'm going to review. So, when the cops came through, everybody took off. Everybody. The police then rolled up. They started chasing people. They caught a few people. Some people got away. But they ended up catching Raymond Santana, the Hispanic. Antron and Kevin, they almost got away. You saw them jumping a wall, scaling a wall and try to get away. Kevin, once he got over the wall, he was hiding in the bushes. He was hiding out in the bushes. But Antron, he was up there, trying to get away, and he got attacked. And when you saw that boy, like that was so sad. This little boy, he probably stood maybe 5 feet tall. Some of these kids were really small. A few of them was kind of big. Like Raymond, the Hispanic, when the cops were questioning him, they said, "Are you sure you only in the 9th grade?" No, he was in the 8th grade. They said, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And they was like, "Well, you awfully big," because some of them cops was hoping and praying that they were 16 years old because they wanted to interrogate them and interview them without their parents around. So it's illegal. They ain't supposed to be interviewing no little kids and interrogating no little kids and all that stuff without calling their parents. They supposed to tell them kids what's going on, what's going down. Who's your closest contact? Your mama, your grandma, your daddy. We need to call somebody. They didn't wait. They hauled all them kids in. They hauled in Kevin. They hauled in Yusuf. They hauled in Raymond. And they got Antron. Now, one of the little boys got attacked by the cop. The cop was trying to catch him. He ended up jumping on him, he ended up attacking him. I say that because he ended up hitting that little boy over the head and busting his head open. The boy's eye was like this big. And it wasn't like he was like, I wouldn't call it resisting arrest. They all was running. The cop caught one of them, jumped on his back, and the boy turned around like, he's just screaming because he's like, what's going on? And the cop just took his helmet off his head and just, bam, right across his face and told him to shut up and be still. I felt that blow. When I say he hit that boy, like, he hit that boy hard as heck. And then we saw later, his eye was like way out here. It was like black and blue. He had all kind of bruises all over his face and everything. And he was so little. He was like so little. But anyway, some of the kids was 14. Some of them was 15. And one of them was 16. And that was Corey. But anyway, I'm just making sure I don't miss any comments. You'll be watching tonight. Okay, Naturally Lawless. And Donna said she'll be watching tonight too. I'm paying for it. Finally getting something I'm paying for. Yes! Shoot, I pay for my Netflix and my Hulu. Shoot, they the best thing since cable. Let me tell you, they the best thing since cable. But yeah, so they hauled them all back to the station. And I was like, when he hit that little boy, I thought the boy was dead at first or unconscious. That's just how hard he hit that boy. But for y'all who haven't watched it yet, y'all see he cracked that boy with that helmet on his head so hard. He was just like, he was gone. He was out. Shoot, he was out. But then after that, the next thing we saw, the detectives, they were really young. Yes, they were really young. Miss Nolan, you sent me an IG message? Okay, I'll check it. But yeah, they were really, really young. And I was like, when the detectives and the cops got there, when they got to the park, and they started looking for evidence, searching the grounds, where that female jogger was attacked, assaulted and raped. they was trying to, figure out, what happened, when it happened, of course. They said between 10 and 11 p.m., she was running on East Drive, struck in the head, and then dragged in the bushes. This is what happened to this lady. But once the detectives got back to the precinct and started looking over all the evidence, looking over everything they had so far, they had no witnesses. No witnesses. None at all. None at all. The main the lady over the sex crimes, Linda, she was like, y'all ain't got no witnesses. Y'all ain't picked up no bums. Y'all ain't picked up no gays. When I heard that, I was like, what? They trying to pin it on everybody. Talking about, y'all didn't pick up no bums, no gays. Like, okay, are they saying gay men back then used to attack white women, joggers, gay men? I was like, okay, I done heard it all now. I was like, oh, damn. She was headstrong, like really headstrong on trying to, pin somebody on this murder. Like ASAP, like right away, like the attack, the rape just happened. And already they trying to pin it on somebody by like midnight, before the pumpkin turns back. I'm like, dang. But then, another cop was like, you know what? There's a bunch of kids, on the north side of the park, that said they was over there wilding out, just wilding out, just goofing off, running around, playing tag, like a lot of them said they were doing. But it was no witnesses. No witnesses at all. The parents of the children that were in it at the precinct that was being questioned, detained, the ones that knew that their children were there, the ones that knew, they came. Raymond's father came to the precinct. That's the Hispanic guy. So his son Raymond, and his father's name was Raymond Sr., by the way. Kevin Richardson, his mother came, even though she's really sickly, she did come, but then she had to leave and go get some medicine because, she's on an oxygen tank, she got tubes in her nose, all that kind of stuff. So his mom was really sick and had to leave to go, home and get some medicine. Then was the two that came down there. The other parents, they had no idea that their children was downtown. They had no idea why their children was being held, what kind of questions they were being asked. They had no idea at all. Like, the detectives, they didn't make no phone calls. Like, for instance, one of the guys named Yusuf, his mother, she found out because she was making calls around to friends and family. Like, this boy know he's supposed to be in by such and such time. It's the weekend, but still, they young. So he got to be in by 10. She gets a call like hours and hours and hours later from somebody else like, oh, I heard they picked up some boys at the park. Maybe your son down there. So a lot of the parents had no idea where their children was. But that detective, Linda Feinstein, she was so convinced that the kids that they had picked up were the ones who was harassing the bicyclists, beating up people, and raped that woman. She was convinced with no evidence, no witnesses, no evidence, no witnesses. But she was convinced they had something to do with it just because they was in the doggone park. I'm like, this, man, y'all gotta watch this show, I'm telling you, because I was like, I was calling her all kind of names. I ain't even gonna lie. I was calling her all kind of names. I'm like, this heifer. She was like one of those people where you wouldn't want to have a badge and a gun. She was one of those people. Now, mind you, she was one of the prosecutors, but she was one of those people you did not want to have a badge and a gun and be at the wrong place at the wrong time. She struck me as that type of person, like a racist. That's how she struck me. So again, y'all check it out. But anyway, because of the fact that in the last year, this happened in 1989 and 1988, there were like 3,412 rapes in New York, New York City. 3,412 rapes. And because of that, that's why she was so, determined to find the rapist in this situation. And even though the other cops and detectives were like, but we have no, how we got a case? We don't have no evidence. We don't have no witnesses. How we got a case? And she was like, oh, we gonna have a case. We gonna have a case. These rapes are an epidemic. And we need to take control of this situation. So they were going to make a case. They were going to create a case. Child. Yes, that wife, Heather. When I say she was on my nerves, she was on my nerves. Hey, Glazy, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in. But yeah, and I'm like, whew, Lord. Now, Raymond, the Hispanic, when his father, Raymond Sr., when he came in, he had to be at work at night. So he was sleeping through the evening. Some people who work overnight, they get home, they might watch TV, they might eat, they might run errands during the daytime, and then around 3 o'clock, they hit the sack because they have to be up at night to go to work. So they was giving him shit, talking about, where was you while your son was running around in Central Park? Where was you? And he was like, I had to work. I had to work. He's like, what my boy do? He don't give me no problems. What did he do? What did he do so bad? Why is he here? And they was like, just giving him shit like, your son out there wilding out. Because the cops, the funny part was, one of the funny parts was, the cops didn't know what wilding out mean. So they was up there like, what's wilding out? What does that mean? When a kid wild out? What they wilding? What they doing? I was like, I was cracking up because they was like, your son out there wilding out in the park. And they had no idea. They had no idea what wilding out mean. They thought wilding out means like assaulting people, beating people, and possibly raping people. When wilding out is usually just kids acting silly, acting goofy, just having a good time, just being kids. Yep, you're right, Natalie Nolans. It's a lot of rapists in New York City. New York, yeah, it's a lot of rapists there. Yep, you absolutely right. Back then, yeah, it was a lot going on back then. It's a lot of unsolved crimes from back then because we didn't have a lot of the modern technology that we had today. We didn't have a lot of that we had today, especially with the DNA testing. DNA testing, man, I wouldn't steal a candy bar nowadays. Shoot. I wouldn't steal no penny candy nowadays because the DNA testing, has advanced so much. But, yeah, so he comes down there, to get his son, find out what's going on. And mind you, they had grabbed every black boy they could find in the park. That wasn't enough. Linda was like, you know what? I want y'all to go out and I want y'all to get names. I want y'all to ask people and find out every single person that was in the park that night. I want all them black boys down there. Now, I'm sure there probably was other people besides black people in the park. But, they wanted all the black boys. Mind you, they had no witnesses. They had no proof, no evidence, but they wanted all the black boys who were at the park to come in. Again, the big R word, y'all. The big R word. But anyway, one of the boys who was in there, that was Raymond Santana, the Hispanic. They had like all the boys in a room. They had them they were sleeping. They were sitting around. The crime happened in the evening, around 9ish in the evening. They had a lot of these boys in there for like 18 hours. No food, no water. Some of their parents had no idea where they were. They making phone calls, trying to find out, what's going on. When they started talking to Raymond, basically they asked him, who were you with? Who were you kicking it with? At the park. And he was like, well, I was with this boy named Tron. That's Antron, the one they call Tron or Tronny. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Antron goes by Tron or Tronny by all his friends and all his family. So they was like, okay, well, we need to go find Tron because they want everybody down at the precinct. So she said, I want his full name and I want his address. So they went to pick him up. They go pick him up. It's early in the morning. The cops come to their house, knock on their door. His parents, his mom and dad, is in the bathroom, getting ready for work, whatnot, brushing their teeth, all that kind of stuff. And Tronny's father notices some muddy clothes in the tub. And so he asks his wife, why are those clothes in the tub? And she's like, well, your son, you know how we do when when the kids done something. Your son, he was out hanging out with whatchamacallit and them, playing around in the park. He must have fell in some mud, something, and I put his clothes in the tub because it was late. He got home really late. He was like, what you mean he got home really late? And she was like, yeah, your son got home really late. Go ask him about it. So he goes to ask Tronny about it, and he finds out that they were being chased by police, and that's how the whole thing happened. Tronny, he managed to escape. Because remember, he was hiding behind the bushes. So he managed to escape. While Kevin, he had got attacked. He got jumped by the cops. And, he ended up getting hit with the cop's helmet in his face. And his eye was like out here. He got out here. Tronny seen all that. He witnessed all of that. Then, while they talking about that, knock, knock, knock. Here come the police. And they come in questioning, looking around, talking about they need to talk to his son. They like, what for? What'd he do? What happened? Nothing. You just need to come down to the precinct. And by the way, boy, what did you have on last night? Where's the clothes you had on last night? And he's looking like all scared and stuff because he's like, oh shit. They still don't even know. They don't have no idea what happened in the park last night. And so his dad said, go get the clothes, son. Go get the clothes. So they take them down. They take the clothes down. Yes, it was totally wrong. Totally wrong. You said, yeah, they didn't. Nope, they didn't ask. They didn't. But I'm like, I don't know. This just, boy, this whole story is just crazy because I don't know how many of y'all got black sons, but I do. And I swear after I seen part 1 and part 2 and started part 3, I was telling my sons, y'all better promise to me, swear that y'all gonna watch this show, that y'all gonna watch this Netflix show, because y'all really do need to watch this. Like earlier today, when I was taking my youngest son, who's 18, to work, I was telling him about the show. And he was like, well, Mom, why do we need to watch it? And I was like, well, let me give you a scenario. Let's say you coming home from school, you walking around, you just minding your own business, and a cop pull over, he's burning rubber, stops at a quick halt, jumps out, put your hands up, get down on the ground. Place your hands in front of you where I can see them. Yelling and screaming at you, and like, oh, you fit the description of some old lady who was beat up or something, around the corner or downtown or somewhere. I was like, what would you do? And I'm up here thinking, he's gonna do the right thing. He's gonna do the right thing. I'm like, what would you do? And he said, well, if I don't get up and run, I'm going to take out my phone and call 911. Do you know how I was like, you going to do what? Say that again. You going to do what? I was like, where did I fail? Lord Jesus, where did I fail my son? I'm like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, do you not remember Trayvon? You think you gonna pull out a cell phone and call your mama? No, first he said, I'm gonna call 911. That's what he said at first. He said, I'm gonna call 911. I said, you gonna call 911 on the cops that got a gun at you? he just sat there looking like it was all entering his head at that moment. I'm like, where have I failed you? Ain't I taught y'all? I know I have. I didn't talk to them many times. If a cop pulls you over, try to be respectful, even if they doing something wrong. Try not to lash out. Try not to get angry. Try not to, even if you feel like you want to just cuss them out. Just try to remain as calm as possible because I want you to come home. Even if you end up in jail, I want to be able to pick you up from jail and bring you home and not see you in a body bag. So, yeah, again, you need to watch that show. That's what I told him. I said, you going to watch that show this weekend? So, you said, I'm pumped to watch. I might watch it at the gym tomorrow on the treadmill. Yes, watch it. I was watching it while I was working, actually. I was watching it while I was working. But, yeah, what he said to me almost brought me to tears because I'm like, I can just picture him now running. I was like, oh Lord, I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, moving right along. Okay, then basically they took him down. They took Antron down to the police station. Again, they have no idea what happened. The cops get down there. And they put Antron in the room. They put his parents in the room. Finally, somebody's parents is actually in the room. Why they're being questioned. So they get down there and they talking and they telling what happened. Somebody got raped. Somebody got da-da-da-da-da-da. And the mom and dad is looking like, what the hell? What they got to do with our son? And they told him that he was at the scene. And that's why they think his clothes was all muddy and everything. Because he was on the ground. I mean, the jogger was on the ground being raped and stuff. So they trying to, put it in their head that their son, was part of the situation. But they like, no, that ain't what happened. Our son wouldn't do nothing like that. Them police. Let me tell you, when I saw that police officer, they was going in on this child. Even with the parents right there. The mom was crying. The dad was crying. They was yelling and screaming at this boy, trying to make him say what they wanted him to say. And finally, the mom, she had to be taken out because she was hysterical. She was like, get my baby, stop yelling at my baby. Why they screaming at my baby? She was hysterical, as she should be, and they had to take her out. And so the dad, he had finally got enough of it. The dad who played, the dude on the wire with the scar, he had got tired and fed up. So he like, man, let me holler at you out in the hallway. He takes him out in the hallway, and he's like, come on, my son, he did not do this. What do we have to do to prove that my son didn't do this? And he's just, just pleading with this man. He's like, my son ain't even had sex yet. He doesn't do that. He doesn't even talk to girls yet. He's not even at that. He's trying to explain to him without throwing his son out there as inexperienced. He's trying to be respectful of his son. At the same time, they trying to pin a rape on his son. But he's still trying to be respectful of his son. He's like, you know what I mean? He just hasn't, you know what I mean? He's doing this with his hands. Like, he's not into girls. He's, So the cop was like, yeah, till now. I was like, I'm telling you, this show now, it's going to have you like, this stuff happens all the time. And so, then he was like, hold up, what's your name again? Where you work at? He told him, where he work at. How long you been working there? He was like, 5 years. He said, yeah, you been there 5 years? I'm sure you got some good benefits. Some good 401k. Some good health insurance. Good pay. Right? And he's like, yeah. And he said, do they know about your background? Do they know about your past? Do they know about your criminal history? Do they know about you doing time? Right there, at that moment, he was trying to blackmail this man for his son's freedom. That's when I was like, oh, hell no. These cops is dirty. If I ain't never seen no dirtier cops, These cops was dirty. The man is like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I ain't did nothing in years. He was like, since I've been working there, I ain't did no crimes. I ain't been in no trouble. This has nothing to do with my job. What does this has to do with my son? And he was like, let me tell you something. You need to go in there and you need to tell your son he better get to talking and he better tell us what we want to hear. I was like, man, I was like, I was almost brought to tears at that moment, because the next thing that happened, Antron's father went in that room and he sat down and told him, he said, son, you got to do what they say. You got to tell them what they want to hear, son. He said, do you want to come home? And the son was like, but Dad, I don't know anything. I wasn't there. He said, you have to tell them what they want to hear, son. He was like, but Dad, that would mean I'm lying. I can't lie. You want me to lie? You told me not to lie. You raised me not to lie. You want me to lie? And his son, he started going off, screaming, cussing his son out. He was picking up chairs, throwing chairs across the room. He was like, do you understand? You have no idea what I'm trying to tell you. You have no idea what I'm trying to tell you. And he was like, the boy is looking like confused. Like Tronny was looking like, I don't get it. He's like, my dad wants me to lie. He wants me to make up a story. You know, and he was like, son, the cops. One thing you don't know about the cops is the cops, when they want something, they gonna get it. They gonna do whatever they have to do to get it. He said, you don't understand. The police, they will lock you up. They will kill you. They will lie on you. He said, I am not going to let them kill my son. So you gonna do what they say. You gonna go along with whatever they want. And he was like, do you understand me? And the little boy crying like hysterically, like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he's wiping his tears and everything. Then next thing you know, the detectives come back in like, you got something to say. And he start making up stuff. He just started making up stuff. They was like, so tell us who did this and who did that and who pulled up her top, who pulled down her pants, who hit her on the head. The boy is like, and then the cops is throwing names out there like, was it Raymond? Was it this person? Was it Yusef? Was it this person? He's like, yeah. All these boys, besides Yusef and Corey, none of them knew each other like really, really, really well. And the only ones that was really truly together at the park was Yusef and Raymond. I'm sorry, Yusef and Corey. The rest of them was kind of like with other friends, you know. And the little boy with the trombone, he was there by himself. So it's like they didn't know like who is Raymond, who's Yusuf. And that's what they did with every one of those boys. They brought them all into the room and was like, what happened? They was hitting them, they was slapping them, they was throwing them up against the walls, pushing them out of chairs. They was doing all kind of stuff, screaming at them, yelling at them. It was horrible. It was horrible. And then basically they would tell them like, this happened. They raped her, right? And they did this, and they grabbed her here, and they grabbed her there, right? Was it this person? Was it that person? And they all like, we don't know these people. And then they use that reverse psychology. Okay, well, Raymond said, you did this. Then they would go to the other one and said, Antron said you did this. Then they go to the other one and say, Yusuf said that you did this. And they're like, who? You a who? Who's an Antron? Who are these people that you talking about? Where do they know me from? These people don't know me. And when I said, as far as Antron, I said, remember, keep in mind, at the beginning, he was like, his parents called him Tronny. His friends called him Tronny. They kept saying, Antron, Antron, Antron. Well, somebody said Antron. Somebody said Antron. Antron was like, whoever you talking about, they don't know me. And he was crying to his parents. I'm like, Mom, they don't know me. Nobody calls me Antron. Nobody calls me Antron. Everybody calls me Tronny. So, I mean, they probably knew, the parents, I'm sure they knew, like, something's wrong here. Not only is they trying to coerce us and trying to blackmail the father, trying to risk him losing his job in order to pin this rape on somebody, but they were coercing all the boys to tell on each other and then telling all the boys that somebody told on them. Get it? All these boys was being told, if you say such and such did it, if you say they did it, we'll let you go home. And they told them all the same story. We'll let you go home. Don't you want to go home? You want to go back to your mom? You want to sleep in your own bed? Don't you want to go home? Just do what we say. Say what we want to hear. Give us what we need. And you can go home. They told all them boys the same story. The same story. Now, when it comes down to Yusef, when it was time for them, when they was interrogating him, coercing him, pressuring him, he was so pressured where he was like, okay, I'm going to sign my rights away. His Miranda. He was like, I'm going to sign my rights away. I don't want an attorney. None of that kind of stuff. That was like right before his mom had got a phone call from her home girl or somebody. It was like, you need to check and see if your son downtown, because they took a whole bunch of black boys downtown last night. So she goes down there and she sees the lady over the sex crimes, the prosecutor, Linda. And she's like, you got my son in here all this time, all these hours, without their parents? They're underage and you're questioning and interrogating them? And she was like, my son is only, I think she said 15. And she was like, 15? He got a card, an ID saying he's 16. Now, the reason why he has a card was because when they had questioned him and they had took him downtown, they said, do you have an ID on you? And when they looked at the ID, they was like, you 16? He said, no, I'm really 15, but I got this because, I wanted to impress the girls. They still not thinking they in any trouble at that time. He was like, I got this ID because I want to impress the girls, make it seem like I'm a little bit older. Kids did that kind of stuff back in the day. Or to get in bars or to buy cigarettes or beer. Kids did that stuff back in the day. And so the mom was trying to tell him, no, my son's not 16. He's really 15. And he did tell the cops that too. I'm really 15. They was like, can you provide a birth certificate? Man, when I say that black mama, she must have went ham. I'm like, as she should. And I would have done the same thing. She was like going off on Miss Linda, child. Calling her names, cussing her out. My son's going home right now. They like, no, your son ain't. Yes, my son is. No, yours. She stormed up in there and grabbed her son and saw him signing his John Hancock on a little card. And she was like, what the hell? What is he signing? And they was like, oh, he's signing the Miranda card. He's signing his rights away to an attorney, basically going to confess. Say, what happened, whatever. And she took the card and basically, slid it across the table like, he ain't signing nothing. He ain't signing nothing away. And then she turned around and told Linda she ought to be ashamed of herself. How you got all these boys down here for all these hours interrogating them? They ain't ate. They ain't had a phone call. They ain't called they mama, they daddy, they priest, they nana. They ain't got to call nobody. Parents is just finding out your kids downtown at the precinct. Y'all, so wrong. So, they telling all the guys to tell them what happened, but they like feeding them information. They showing them pictures. Like, this is Antron. What did he do? And they looking at the pictures like, let me see. Yeah, I think he did this. The kids is like just making up. You can just tell it. And they recording this. They recording it. They writing it down. They got them on film and everything. They up there stuttering, thinking, pausing. You could just tell they was lying because they were promised they could go home. So they was telling Yusef that Raymond saw him attack the lady, and he's like, "Who the hell is Raymond?" Then they was telling Raymond while hitting him upside the head and slapping him all around the table and everything, they showed him the pic of Antron, and they said, excuse me, they showed him a pic of Antron and asked what Antron knew. And they was like, Ray said Antron was holding her down. And Raymond was like, they said I did what? I don't even know this dude. I don't even know him. I didn't hold nobody down. So, everybody was, again, telling on everybody else. But they was making these stories up. And when word came back to them, like somebody said, you did this. They're like, no, I didn't. I didn't do anything. So they still making up stories. In other words, everybody was telling on everybody. So they made it look, the detectives, they made it look like they all were, it was like a conspiracy. Like they all were working together. Like they all did it together. Because they all were telling on each other. That they were all telling on somebody did something. So at the end of it all, they hauled them all in. They read them their rights. They locked them up. They locked everybody up except for Yusuf, because his mother came in, in the nick of time, right before he signed that, that little card. She took her son home, and she went and got him like a attorney. Yeah, she went and got him an attorney. The rest of them was down in the jail. Now, Antron was together. Antron was together with Kevin and Raymond. Raymond the Hispanic. So them three, they were together in one cell. Now, let's get back to Corey. Remember, y'all, I told y'all at the beginning, I said we're going to get back to Corey. Corey was the one who I was like, something ain't right about this boy. Something just ain't right about him. I can just see it in the beginning by his whole demeanor. And then we learned how he wasn't going to school. He was always skipping school and not going to school. After Yusuf left, the detectives, they were sitting around, putting all their paperwork together, going over everything they have. And they was like, we still have nothing to pin all these guys together because of the no evidence, no witnesses. They all were telling on each other. So they had no witnesses outside of that circle to say if any of those five did anything wrong. So they said, well, who was that over there sleep in the break room? They was like, oh, that's Corey. He came down with Yusuf. Now, when the police has pulled over and stopped Yusuf was with Corey. Remember? Them was two friends. They was with each other. And they had brought Yusuf in because he fit the description. But when they saw Corey, they was like, oh, you ain't on the list. You can go. But then at the last minute, they was like, or you could come downtown with your friend if you want and be there for your friend if you want. And Corey was looking like he didn't really want to go. But Yusuf was looking back like pleading eyes like, come with me, like he was scared because he didn't know why he was being arrested. So Corey was like, you know what, your mama probably kill me if I let you go by yourself, so I'm gonna just go with you. So Corey went down there with him, and while the others was being interviewed and all that kind of stuff, Corey was in the room, in like a break room or coffee area somewhere. Like he was asleep, he was knocked out because he did not fit the description, so nobody was questioning him. But once Yusuf's mom came and picked him up, they was like, okay, we need more. And they was like, let's talk to Corey. So they pulled Corey in. And he's up there like, I don't know nothing about nothing. Just like the rest of the boys, I don't know nothing about nothing. They start doing the same thing, hitting on him, slapping on him, smacking on him, threatening to send him to prison, and woo, telling him what the other guys were saying about him. And then, same thing. They coerced him into saying somebody did this, somebody did that, when none of them was there. And none of them knew nothing. They didn't even know that lady. They never saw that lady at all that evening. Never saw that white lady at all. So, all of their stories wasn't like really collaborating, but it was enough for Linda to be like, okay, Let's try to take it to the DA. Let's take what we have to the DA, which was really nothing. It was absolutely nothing. And they was like, okay, check this out. The lady who was raped, her name is Trisha Mealy. Now, she's an avid runner, avid jogger, experienced jogger. She can run like miles and miles. She's a runner. They said she lived off of 83rd Street. Now, this is a little bit of the timeline from Trisha. Excuse me. She lived off of 83rd Street. Her boyfriend, who was at work, he said he spoke to her on the phone around 9 p.m. One of his office assistants had made the phone call. You know how they do. Call my girlfriend. Got the girlfriend on the line. He talked to her, for a few minutes. She said she was going to go jogging. So, the timeline. She was downstairs at 9:05. 9:05. They know that because of the cameras. Also, the doorman was there. She talked to the doorman. They said she always talked to the doorman. So say hi, how you doing? Whoop whoop. She took off running. She took off jogging, heading north on East Drive. Jogging. Her boyfriend said she's an experienced runner. She normally does a steady 8-minute mile. She normally does a mile, just runs, and I guess comes back home. I guess just run 1 mile and come back home. They said she went into the park at 88th Street. So if it was if it's 8 minutes per mile by her standard, by how her speed, 8 minutes per mile. So they figured around 9:15 p.m. when she was at the park. That was the time when she was at the place, when she was ambushed, attacked, beaten, and brutally raped, dragged off into the bushes. But even Linda was like, but it's a 45-minute discrepancy. The time frame is not adding up. This man over here was attacked. This 50-year-old over here was attacked. These bicyclists, they were harassed. This lady over here was raped at this time. It's a 45-minute discrepancy. And another cop said, well, I guess we could pull up the rape to maybe like 9:20 because maybe she could stop and tie her shoe or so they was trying to make it work. They was trying to put some puzzle pieces together that don't go together just so they could put this on these boys. She was like, nah. So this lady, Linda, this whole time while they're up there harassing and beating on these kids and all that kind of stuff, she knew what she was doing the entire time. She knew it wasn't adding up. They didn't have proof. They didn't have witnesses. And it's a 45-minute discrepancy. The cop was like, okay, well, maybe we could just change the time of the rape. Maybe she stopped and, I don't know, had a sip of water, tied her shoe, just something. She was like, no, it gotta be something else. Because how could these kids be raping her when on the other side of the park, at that time, when on the other side of the park, bicyclists was being harassed. Somebody was being beaten. A school teacher was attacked. A 50-year-old man was attacked. And bicyclist was being harassed. And then over here we have this lady who was being raped. It wasn't adding up. They was like, okay, there's question marks about the timeline. Question marks, no weapons. Remember, no weapons. They asked one of the kids, I can't remember it right off the top of my head. I think it was Kevin. They was like, okay, what was she hit with? He said a pipe. Wasn't no pipes in the park. No pipes in the park. None at all. They didn't find no pipes in the park. So that was like a discrepancy right there. The kids was lying about everything. They were lying about they lied. Okay, one of the kids was asked, okay, what did she have on? He talking about shorts. The lady had on jogging. She had on like them tight leggings. They was like, what color were her shoes? What kind of shirt he had? She had on a jogging shirt? No. She had on, she had on a tank top? Tank top. She had on a tank top. I mean, they were just like, Just making these kids say something, just anything. Just anything. So they was like, okay, ain't nothing adding up, no weapon, no witnesses, no nothing. We gotta make this work. We gotta make the whole story fit. All the pieces fit together in this timeline. Because they have to make everything fit the lady's timeline that was raped. So all these other incidents that happened, they try to make the timeline coincide where the boys had enough time to do this, that, and the third, and also do this, all within this time frame. They couldn't. So they said, how about we change the order of events? Saying that they maybe started, doing their little ruckus in the park, maybe started it at a different time, and then went to the reservoir last, where the lady was found. They was trying everything. They was doing everything to make it make sense. To make it make sense. Even though it didn't make sense. So anyway, after that was all done, Kevin, he ended up saying Antron and Raymond raped her. That was the one who gave the wrong description. He gave the wrong description of the place where she was raped, where she was what she was wearing. He was like, all I did was touch her boobs. And then he said something about they was like, when he was asked about his scratches, they was like, why you got scratches? Because remember, they had jumped the wall, right? And they had rolled into the bushes when they were running. So they was like, where those scratches come from? And he was like, well, I think I got the scratches when I was trying to help her. I had reached in. I was trying to help her. She scratched me. Now, if she scratched them, it would have been like DNA in her nails, right? She would have had DNA in her nails. She had no DNA in her nails. He was making up something because all these boys were promised if they tell them what they wanted to know, they could go home. They told the boys, each boy, the same thing. Hey, T-Man's Go Cars, you said this was the place to be. Oh, Small Engine Nation Ray, hey, what's going on, y'all? Feel free to connect while y'all in the chat. Feel free to connect. But in my chat, when you connect with somebody, make sure you do it the right way. Visit their channel, hit their bell, leave a genuine comment. And also, put a little TV. For Tanya's Primetime TV, put a little TV emoji next to their name after you visit them. But anyway, for those who just came in, we're discussing the Netflix new show called When They See Us, which is about the true story of the Central Park 5. So, and it's on Netflix, and we're going over part 1. So, now, as far as the blood, there was no blood under her nails, so no blood evidence. And then the Kevin, when he was being coerced and everything, he was just saying whatever he wanted to say. They was writing it all down. He wasn't even writing it in his own. All the stuff that the guys were saying, none of them wrote it down themselves. Everything was being wrote down from the detectives. Kevin, remember his sister was walking him in the beginning and, applauding him over how well he's been doing in band with his trombone and everything. She was called down because their mother had left because she's really, really sick. He told his sister, just sign the papers so I can go home. They was like putting papers in front of her. You got to sign these. You got to sign these. In order for him to go home, you got to sign these papers. She's like, but what do they say? I need to read them. And he was like, just sign them, sis. Please, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. Y'all, when I say I broke down, I broke down. I was crying. That point, I was crying. This little boy was like, please, sis, please. I just want to go home. They said I can go home. If I tell them what they want to hear, I can go home. Just sign the paper, sign the paper, sign the paper. And she was looking at him, and he's crying and stuff. And she's like, I don't think I would have signed it. Even though she was young, but she was grown. I probably would have been like, nah, we need to look this over. But she signed it. She signed it. Next thing you know, he's locked up too. They all got locked up. They all got locked up. They all got charged for the crime. They all got charged for the crime. Linda was persistent that they was all guilty. Hey, Miss Sislo. Hey, what's up? How you doing? You said I don't love you. Why I don't love you? Why you think I don't love you? I was watching your videos all morning, child, and I left comments on all your videos. But yeah, I'm gonna hurry up and finish this because I'm gonna have to go pick up my son, and then we're gonna do part 2 tomorrow afternoon. But anyway, Linda, she was really persistent that they were all guilty. Because with each of the boys' confession, you know, they all bore witness to what happened. So she said, even though there's no evidence and statements are conflicting and there's no weapons, we can still piece this together and make it stick. And what they did was they used Corey as the glue to make it stick. Corey didn't even know how to read. They was putting stuff in front of him. He didn't know how to read. This boy had been skipping out on school for so long that he has problems reading. They was ramming him against the wall, slapping him, making him lie, pinning it on other people, pinning it on Kevin, even though he didn't know him. When they asked him about Yusef, he said, I just came down here to support Yusef. I wasn't even supposed to come down here. I just came down here to support him. Yusef ended up being taken home by his mama. And Corey was left down here. So they pinned it on Corey too. It was so sad. It was so sad. Corey really thought that he was going home. They all did, but Corey really thought he was going home. So after he made up these lies and said who did what and how and what, just making up stuff, he got up from his seat. He got up from his desk like, he rose up, they pushed his butt back down like, where you going? He was like, y'all said if I tell y'all what? Nowhere. They all got locked up. They all got locked up. When they got to the cells, y'all, it was so surreal. These boys looking at each other like, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? They finally met. Like Raymond, Antron, and Kevin. They finally met each other. They realized what was happening. They immediately started apologizing to each other. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I lied on you. I'm sorry I lied on you. I'm sorry I lied on you. Corey was in another room because he was 16, so he was with the grown men, the big men. He was in there with them. The little boys, you know, since they minors, they just had them in some room. You know, Yusef, he was at home with his mom. So the boys, they was like, so you're Kevin, you're Antron, you're Raymond. They didn't have no idea who each other was. But they were just coerced to say that each other played a part in a rape with the promise that they can go home. They didn't go home. That was the beginning of their nightmare. The beginning of their nightmare. So, anywho, that is part 1, you guys. That is part 1 of my review of When They See Us. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys get on Netflix and watch part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. I'm up to part 3. So tonight when I get home, I'll probably finish part 3 after I pick up my son from school. I mean, not school, from work. I'll probably finish part 3. And then, like I said, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to review part 2. Tomorrow evening, I'm going to review part 3. Sunday evening, I'm going to review part 4. So, we're going to get into it, y'all. We're going to get into it. But please, please watch this show. And if you have any young children, male or female, especially male, make sure they watch this show. Sit down and watch it with them, or let them watch it by themselves. But I think every young child, every young teenager, every black male especially, sorry we have to put it out like that, but people of brown color, and not saying that white people and Mexicans and not Mexicans, but Asians or African, not saying they don't ever get, you know, mistreated by the cops. But for real, for real, make your kids, no matter what race they are, male or female, watch this show on Netflix. It's called When They See Us, and it's about the true life story of the Central Park Five. Hey, Anne Marie, what's up, fam? Hey, Miss Sislo, you said, cause you don't text me so I can mod for you. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, honey. I've never been one of those people who be like, you need to jump in my chat now. I'm going live at this time. I need you in my chat. I don't do that. If my mods happen to come in, they come in. I'll be adding more mods eventually. But the mods I do have, if they come in, they come in. I don't ever want my mods to think that they have to be in every video. Because sometimes I might do 2-3 videos a day. We got lives. We got families. We got children. We got jobs. So, you know, that's just what it is. I know some people be like, here I come, I'm coming. Some people be like, no, you gotta be in my chat and you gotta be mods and all this kind of stuff. But no. Yeah. Alright, cool beans. I'm on my way, okay? Alright. Yeah, that's my son calling. But, yes. So, anywho, you guys, if you came in on the tail of this review, please watch it from the very beginning. If you have not liked this review, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you have not have subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe. And make sure you hit each other up in the chat. Feel free to network, y'all. Feel free to network. But I really like to be there for you. If I can make it, I can. Okay, I'm going to do that from now on, Miss Sislo. I'm going to do that from now on. Just because you told me to, though. But y'all, I gotta get out of here. I enjoyed kicking it with you guys tonight. Y'all know how we do, Primetime Squad. In the meantime and in between time, stay safe, be blessed, and I'm out. Deuces.